That night, Maya sat alone in her room, staring at the scattered pages of her sketchbook. Each torn piece seemed to carry the weight of the cruel words that had been hurled at her earlier. Some drawings were ripped nearly in half, while others had crumpled edges from where they had landed on the floor. It wasn't just paper, it was a part of her thoughts, her dreams. Her heart poured out onto those pages. And now it felt like someone had stomped all over them. At first, she tried to focus on repairing the damage. Carefully, she smoothed out the creases and taped together the rips, but no matter how hard she worked, the scars remained visible. Every tear reminded her of Brittany's sneer. Every jagged edge echoed the laughter of the crowd. The more she looked at her battered artwork, the heavier her chest became. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered to herself, "Why does it have to be like this? Why can't they just leave me alone?" Her sadness soon gave way to frustration. She thought about all the times she'd stayed quiet, letting people like Brittany walk all over her without saying a word. She remembered the days when she would hide her sketches during lunch or avoid walking past certain groups in the hallway, all because she didn't want to draw attention to herself. But what had that gotten her? More pain, more humiliation. Enough was enough. Just then there was a soft knock on her bedroom door. "Maya?" her mother's voice called gently. Without waiting for an answer, Karen pushed the door open and stepped inside. Her eyes immediately fell on the mess of papers spread across the floor, and her expression softened with concern. "What happened, baby?" she asked, sitting beside Maya on the bed. For a moment, Maya hesitated. She didn't want to burden her mom with her problems. She knew life wasn't easy for her either. Karen worked long hours at the diner downtown, juggling bills and responsibilities to give Maya the best life she could. But tonight, Maya couldn't hold it in anymore. Through sobs, she recounted the events of the day, the insults, the laughter, the way her art had been treated like trash. Karen listened silently, her hands resting on Maya's shoulders. When Maya finished speaking, her mom pulled her into a tight hug. "Baby," she said softly, "you are so much stronger than you think. Those girls, they don't see your beauty, your talent, your worth. But that doesn't mean you're any less amazing." Maya sniffled, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. "But why do they hate me so much, Mom? What did I ever do to them?" Karen sighed, brushing a strand of hair away from Maya's face. "It's not about you, sweetheart. People who act like that are usually hurting inside themselves. They pick on others because it makes them feel bigger, better, smarter. But deep down, they're scared and insecure. Don't let their fear define you." Her words lingered in the air, planting a seed of hope in Maya's mind. For the first time, she considered that maybe Brittany's cruelty wasn't really about her at all. Maybe it was about Brittany's own struggles, her need to control things, her inability to appreciate differences. That realization didn't erase the pain, but it shifted something inside Maya. She began to feel less like a victim and more like someone who could rise above. "Mom," Maya said after a pause, "what if I showed them? Not by fighting back or yelling, but by doing what I love. What if I used my art to tell them how I feel?" Karen smiled, her eyes shining with pride. "That's my girl. You've always had such a big heart, Maya. If anyone can turn pain into something beautiful, it's you." Inspired by her mother's encouragement, Maya spent the rest of the evening brainstorming ideas. She imagined creating a project that would not only express her emotions but also challenge her bullies, and maybe even inspire others who felt invisible or powerless. Over the next few days, she threw herself into her work with a newfound sense of purpose. She started by revisiting her damaged sketches. Instead of throwing them away, she decided to incorporate them into new pieces. Using bold colors and striking imagery, she transformed the torn pages into symbols of resilience. One painting depicted a tree growing out of cracked earth, its roots stretching deep into the ground despite the harsh conditions around it. Another showed a bird breaking free from a cage, its wings ablaze with fiery hues. These weren't just pictures, they were stories, messages, declarations of strength. As she painted, Maya wrote poems to accompany each piece. Her words flowed freely, raw and unfiltered, capturing the essence of her journey. In one poem, she described feeling like charcoal, not because of her skin color, but because of the pressure society put on her to fit a mold she didn't belong in. Yet instead of being consumed by the fire, she chose to shine brighter. Another poem explored the idea of rebirth, comparing herself to a phoenix rising from ashes. Her best friend, Jamal, noticed the change in her almost immediately. Normally quiet and reserved, Maya now buzzed with energy whenever they hung out. Curious, he stopped by her house one afternoon to see what she was up to. When she showed him her work, his jaw dropped. "Wow, Maya," he said, flipping through the pages of her notebook. "This is incredible. You're turning your pain into power." Jamal's enthusiasm fueled Maya's determination even further. Together, they brainstormed ways to share her project with a wider audience. "What about the school talent show?" Jamal suggested. "Everyone will be there, students, teachers, parents. It's the perfect platform to get your message out." The idea excited Maya, but it also terrified her. Performing in front of the entire school meant facing Brittany and her clique head-on. Could she handle the stares, the whispers, the possibility of more ridicule? Doubts swirled in her mind, threatening to pull her back into the shadows. But then she remembered her mother's words. "Don't let their fear define you." This wasn't just about revenge or proving a point. It was about reclaiming her voice and showing the world that she was more than the labels others tried to slap on her. With renewed resolve, Maya signed up for the talent show, determined to make her mark. Over the following weeks, she practiced tirelessly. During lunch breaks, she rehearsed her poems in empty classrooms, tweaking lines until they felt just right. At home, she fine-tuned her paintings, adding layers of detail that brought her visions to life. Jamal helped her design a slideshow to display her artwork behind her as she performed, ensuring the visuals matched the intensity of her words. Each step of the process strengthened Maya's confidence. She began to see herself not as a victim but as a creator, a storyteller with the power to spark change. The bullies may have tried to dim her light, but they had unknowingly ignited a flame within her that refused to go out. Little did Maya know her performance would do more than confront her tormentors. It would touch hearts, open minds, and remind everyone in the audience that true strength lies not in tearing others down, but in lifting yourself up. And as the date of the talent show drew closer, Maya felt ready, not just to face her fears, but to embrace the person she was becoming. In the small, quiet town of Maplewood, life moved at a slow pace. Everyone knew each other, or at least thought they did. The streets were lined with cozy houses, and the air always carried the faint smell of freshly baked cookies from Mrs. Harper's bakery. But for 14-year-old Maya Johnson, this seemingly perfect town wasn't as sweet as it appeared. Life in Maplewood had its challenges, especially when you stood out in ways people didn't understand, or worse, refused to accept. Maya was different, and she wore her uniqueness like armor. Her deep brown skin glowed under the sunlight, earning compliments from family and friends who loved her radiant energy. She had a passion for art, spending hours sketching intricate designs in her notebook or painting vivid landscapes on canvas. Her creativity seemed boundless, and her teachers often praised her talent. Yet despite her gifts, Maya struggled to fit in at school. While some admired her work, others saw her differences as something to mock rather than celebrate. At Maplewood, middle school cliques ruled the hallways. There were the athletes, the nerds, the drama kids, and then there was Brittany Taylor, the self-proclaimed leader of the cool crowd. Brittany was tall, blonde, and confident, traits that made her both admired and feared by her classmates. She thrived on attention, whether it came from her loyal group of followers or through the chaos she created around her. And unfortunately, for Maya, she had become one of Brittany's latest targets. It all started innocently enough, or so it seemed. One afternoon during art class, Maya sat quietly at her desk, carefully shading a portrait of her mother. It was a piece close to her heart, capturing not just her mom's features but also the warmth and strength she exuded. As she worked, she overheard giggles from behind her. Turning slightly, she noticed Brittany whispering to her friends while pointing at Maya's sketchbook. At first, Maya brushed it off, thinking maybe they were talking about something else. But soon their laughter grew louder, drawing curious glances from nearby students. When the bell rang, signaling the end of class, Maya gathered her things, quickly, eager to leave before anyone noticed her discomfort. However, fate had other plans. As she walked down the hallway toward her locker, she felt a hand grab her arm roughly, spinning her around. Standing in front of her was Brittany, flanked by two of her closest allies. Their smirks sent a chill down Maya's spine, but she tried to stay calm. "Hey, Charcoal," Brittany sneered, using the nickname she'd clearly invented to taunt Maya. Her voice carried a sharp edge, cutting through the noise of the bustling hallway. "What's up, you trying to draw yourself, or is that supposed to be a burnt marshmallow?" Her friends burst into laughter, echoing her cruel joke. Maya froze, her cheeks burning with embarrassment. She wanted to say something, anything to defend herself, but the words caught in her throat. Instead, she clutched her sketchbook tighter, hoping it would shield her somehow. Unfortunately, Brittany wasn't done. She reached out suddenly, snatching the book from Maya's hands before she could react. "Let's see what we've got here," Brittany said mockingly, flipping through the pages. Each drawing was met with jeers and insults. "Oh, wow. Look at this one. Is this supposed to be your house? It looks like a mud hut." More laughter erupted, and Maya felt tears welling up in her eyes. She hated crying in front of them. It only gave them more ammunition. But she couldn't stop herself. Brittany tossed the sketchbook onto the floor, letting the pages scatter like fallen leaves. "Maybe if you weren't so busy drawing ugly pictures, you'd have real friends," she spat, turning away with her posse trailing behind her. The crowd dispersed slowly, leaving Maya alone in the empty hallway, surrounded by the remnants of her hard work. As she knelt to pick up the torn pages, Maya felt a mix of emotions swirling inside her: anger, sadness, humiliation. But beneath it all, a spark of determination began to flicker. She thought about her mother's advice that no one gets to define you unless you let them, and realized she couldn't keep letting people like Brittany dictate how she felt about herself. That evening, as she sat in her room piecing together her damaged artwork, Maya made a decision. She wouldn't let this moment break her. Instead, she would use it to build something stronger, not just for herself but for anyone else who ever felt powerless against bullies like Brittany. Little did she know, this choice would change everything. For her school, and even for the people who once hurt her most. And so, Maya began planning. Piece by piece, she rebuilt her confidence alongside her sketchbook. What started as a simple act of survival would soon evolve into something far greater, a lesson that no insult, no matter how harsh, could extinguish the brilliance within her. The days leading up to the talent show were a whirlwind of preparation for Maya. She spent every spare moment perfecting her performance, rehearsing her poems until the words flowed effortlessly, and practicing how to move gracefully across the stage. Her room became a makeshift studio, filled with sketches, half-finished paintings, and notes scribbled on scraps of paper. The air buzzed with anticipation as she envisioned what the night would bring. Jamal played an invaluable role in helping her bring her vision to life. With his tech-savvy skills, he created a slideshow that complemented her artwork beautifully. Each slide featured one of Maya's paintings, accompanied by subtle animations that made the images come alive. For example, in the painting of the Yao tree growing from cracked earth, tiny green shoots sprouted slowly, symbolizing resilience and growth. Jamal also added soft instrumental music to play in the background during her performance, ensuring the atmosphere matched the emotional weight of her message. As they worked together, Maya couldn't help but feel grateful for Jamal's unwavering support. "You're amazing at this," she told him one evening while they tested the slideshow on her laptop. "I don't know what I'd do without you." Jamal grinned, leaning back in his chair. "Hey, someone's got to make sure your masterpiece gets the spotlight it deserves. Besides, when people hear your story, they're going to realize just how incredible you are." Maya smiled, though a flicker of nervousness still lingered in her chest. She knew the talent show was more than just another school event. It was her chance to confront not only Brittany and her clique, but also the doubts that sometimes crept into her own mind. What if no one understood her message? What if her voice shook too much or she forgot her lines? These thoughts haunted her late at night when the house was quiet and sleep refused to come. To calm her nerves, Maya turned to her mother for advice. Karen listened patiently as Maya poured out her fears, nodding occasionally before offering gentle reassurance. "Baby, remember why you're doing this," she said. "It's not about being perfect. It's about being brave. You've already won by deciding to stand up for yourself. Everything else is just details." Her mom's words stuck with Maya, grounding her whenever anxiety threatened to take over. She reminded herself that this wasn't just about her, it was about every student who had ever felt invisible, every child who had been teased for being different. If even one person walked away inspired, then her efforts would be worth it. On the morning of the talent show, Maya woke up early, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and dread. She dressed carefully, choosing an outfit that made her feel confident yet comfortable, a flowing dress in rich jewel tones that mirrored the colors in her paintings. As she stood in front of the mirror, brushing her hair, she repeated affirmations under her breath. "You are strong. You are talented. You have something important to say." At school, the buzz around the talent show was palpable. Flyers decorated the hallways and students whispered excitedly about who might win. Maya kept her head down, avoiding eye contact with Brittany and her friends. She didn't want to give them the satisfaction of seeing her nervous, or worse, let their snide comments derail her focus. Backstage, the energy was electric. Performers paced nervously, adjusting costumes and running through last-minute rehearsals. Maya sat quietly in a corner, clutching her notebook tightly. Jamal hovered, nearby offering words of encouragement. "You've got this, Maya. Just breathe and trust yourself." When the lights dimmed and the audience settled into their seats, the show began. One by one, students took the stage, showcasing their talents. There were singers belting out pop songs, dancers twirling in sync, and comedians delivering punchlines that earned bursts of laughter. Maya watched from the wings, her stomach churning as her turn approached. Finally, the MC announced her name. Next up, we have Maya Johnson, with her original spoken word piece titled "Shades of Strength." Maya stepped onto the stage, her heart racing. The spotlight blinded her momentarily, making it hard to see the faces in the crowd. But as the first notes of the instrumental music swelled, she took a deep breath and began to speak. "Once upon a time," she started, her voice trembling slightly, "there was a girl named Charcoal." The room fell silent. Even the faint rustling of programs stopped as everyone leaned forward, captivated. Behind her, the slideshow illuminated the screen, displaying her paintings one by one. Maya described how the world had tried to reduce her to a label, how people saw only the surface instead of the depth beneath. Her words painted vivid pictures of pain and perseverance, vulnerability and victory. As she spoke, her confidence grew. Her voice steadied, rising and falling with emotion. She talked about feeling like charcoal, not because of her skin color, but because society often treated her like something disposable, meant to burn away unnoticed. Yet instead of letting the fire consume her, she chose to shine brighter, and so, she continued, her tone fierce now, "I rise, not to fight back with anger or hate, but to prove that strength isn't about tearing others down. It's about building yourself up. It's about turning scars into stars, ashes into art." By the time she reached the final lines of her poem, the entire auditorium was on edge. Some people wiped tears from their eyes. Others sat frozen, completely absorbed. When Maya finished, there was a brief pause, a moment of stunned silence before the room erupted into applause. Cheers echoed through the space and several members of the audience stood, giving her a standing ovation. Through the haze of the spotlight, Maya scanned the crowd. She saw teachers nodding approvingly, parents smiling proudly, and classmates wiping away tears. But most importantly, she locked eyes with Brittany. For the first time, the bully looked away, unable to meet Maya's gaze. In that moment, Maya realized she had done more than perform. She had planted a seed of reflection in those who once sought to tear her down. As she walked off stage, her legs shaky but her spirit soaring, Jamal greeted her with a huge grin. Killed it, Maya. That was absolutely incredible. Maya laughed, relief washing over her like a wave. I can't believe it's over, she admitted, but I feel free. Little did she know, her performance was just the beginning. The impact of her words would ripple far beyond the walls of Maplewood Middle School, sparking conversations and inspiring change in ways she never imagined. And as the night wore on, Maya realized that bravery wasn't about being fearless. It was about facing your fears head-on and finding beauty in the struggle. The applause for Maya's performance lingered in the air long after she left the stage. Backstage, her heart still raced, but this time it wasn't out of fear. It was excitement mixed with disbelief. She had done it. She had faced her bullies, shared her truth, and stood tall in front of an audience that included everyone she cared about, and everyone who had once hurt her. As Jamal hugged her tightly, congratulating her on a job well done, Maya felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. This moment wasn't just hers. It belonged to every person who had ever been made to feel small or invisible. When the talent show ended and the lights came back on, students spilled out of the auditorium, buzzing with conversation. Maya stayed behind for a while, helping teachers pack up equipment and tidy the stage. It gave her time to process everything that had happened. Her mind replayed snippets of her performance, the way the crowd reacted when she spoke about rising above pain, the gasps when one of her paintings appeared on the screen, the thunderous applause at the end. But most vividly, she remembered the look on Brittany's face when their eyes met. For the first time, Maya saw something other than arrogance or cruelty in those blue eyes, uncertainty. As Maya finally stepped outside into the cool night air, she was greeted by a group of classmates she rarely interacted with. That was amazing, one of them said shyly, shifting from foot to foot. Another added, I didn't know you could write like that, you're so talented. Their words caught her off guard, not because they were unexpected, but because they came from people she hadn't considered allies before. In that moment, Maya realized her message had reached farther than she'd imagined. The next day at school, things felt different. Conversations in the hallways carried a new tone. Students whispered about Maya's performance, some expressing admiration, others admitting they'd never thought much about bullying until now. Even teachers seemed affected. During homeroom, Mr. Peterson, the history teacher, took a few minutes to talk about the importance of kindness and understanding. He didn't mention Maya by name, but it was clear he was referencing her spoken word piece. Art has the power to change perspectives, he said, glancing around the room. Let's use our voices wisely. For Maya, walking through the halls felt surreal. People she barely knew smiled at her as she passed. A girl from her math class stopped her near the lockers to say, You inspired me last night. I've been bullied too, and hearing you speak made me feel like I'm not alone. Maya thanked her, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. It was overwhelming yet deeply rewarding to see her vulnerability resonate with so many others. But there was one reaction Maya hadn't anticipated. Brittany's. The bully herself approached Maya during lunch, flanked by her usual entourage, but this time, something was off. Instead of the confident swagger Maya was used to seeing, Brittany hesitated, her arms crossed awkwardly across her chest. Her friends hung back, clearly uncomfortable, leaving her to face Maya alone. Hey, Brittany mumbled, avoiding eye contact. When Maya didn't respond right away, she continued, her voice quieter than usual. Look, I just wanted to say, I'm sorry about what I said, and about your sketchbook. I didn't mean to. Well, actually, I did mean to hurt you, but I shouldn't have. Maya blinked, taken aback. An apology from Brittany? This was the last thing she expected. Part of her wanted to dismiss it outright, to tell Brittany she didn't deserve forgiveness after all the pain she'd caused. But another part of her recognized the effort it must have taken for Brittany to admit she was wrong, especially in front of her loyal followers. After a pause, Maya nodded slowly. Thank you for saying that, she replied evenly. It means a lot. Brittany looked relieved, though still uneasy. Can we maybe start over? She asked hesitantly. I don't want to be that person anymore. Maya studied her for a moment, searching for sincerity in her expression. Finally, she offered a small smile. "We'll see. Actions speak louder than words." Word of Brittany's apology spread quickly throughout the school, sparking even more conversations about accountability and growth. Some students praised Maya for handling the situation with grace, while others questioned whether Brittany truly deserved a second chance. Maya listened to these discussions without engaging too deeply. She knew forgiveness wasn't about forgetting. It was about giving someone the opportunity to change, even if they didn't always succeed. In the weeks that followed, Maya noticed subtle shifts in the school's atmosphere. Teachers began incorporating lessons on empathy and self-expression into their classes. Anti-bullying posters appeared on bulletin boards, designed by students themselves. Parents attended meetings to discuss how they could support their children in fostering kindness both at home and at school. What started as a single act of bravery had ignited a movement, one that extended far beyond Maya's initial intentions. Encouraged by the positive response, Maya decided to take her efforts a step further. With Jamal's help, she founded an anti-bullying club called Shades of Strength, named after her spoken word piece. The club welcomed anyone who wanted to share their experiences through art, music, writing, or simply conversation. Meetings became a safe space for students to express themselves freely, free from judgment or ridicule. Some members brought poems they'd written. Others painted murals together or performed songs inspired by their struggles. Slowly but surely, the club grew into a tight-knit community united by resilience and creativity. One of the club's biggest projects involved creating a mural in the school cafeteria, a vibrant depiction of diversity and unity. Each student contributed a section, filling the wall with colors, patterns, and symbols that represented their unique identities. At the center of the mural was a large tree, its branches stretching wide to encompass everyone. Beneath it, Maya painted the words, "Strength grows when we stand together." The day the mural was unveiled, the entire school gathered to celebrate. Principal Harris gave a speech praising the students for their hard work and dedication. "This mural is a reminder that we are stronger when we embrace our differences," she said, gesturing toward the colorful masterpiece. "Thank you, Maya, for leading this initiative and inspiring us all." As Maya stood beside her creation, surrounded by friends and supporters, she felt a profound sense of fulfillment. None of this would have happened if she hadn't chosen to channel her pain into action. By sharing her story, she had given others permission to do the same, and in doing so, she had created something beautiful out of something broken. Looking back, Maya realized that her journey hadn't been about revenge or proving a point. It had been about healing, not just for herself, but for everyone who needed to hear that they mattered. And though she knew life wouldn't always be easy, she also knew she had the strength to face whatever challenges lay ahead. After all, she had already weathered the storm and emerged stronger than ever. The impact of Maya's performance at the talent show and the creation of Shades of Strength didn't stop within the walls of Maplewood Middle School. Over time, her story began to spread beyond the small town, reaching ears far and wide. Students from neighboring schools heard about her bravery through social media posts shared by proud parents and teachers. Local newspapers wrote articles praising her leadership and creativity, calling her an inspiration for young people everywhere. Even the mayor of Maplewood sent a letter commending her efforts, saying, "Maya Johnson reminds us that art has the power to heal wounds and bridge divides." For Maya, this newfound attention was both thrilling and humbling. She never imagined that sharing her personal pain could touch so many lives. At first, she struggled with the spotlight, feeling like she wasn't worthy of the praise. But as more people reached out to thank her, some sending heartfelt messages online, others stopping her in public to express gratitude, she began to see herself differently. She realized that her journey wasn't just about her anymore. It was about creating a ripple effect of positivity and change. One day, during a particularly emotional meeting of Shades of Strength, a shy 7th grader named Lily approached Maya after everyone else had left. Her eyes were red from crying and she clutched a crumpled piece of paper in her hands. I wanted to show you this," she stammered, handing it over. It was a poem titled Broken Crayon Still Color. The words spoke of loneliness, bullying, and the hope of finding acceptance. Maya read it silently, tears welling up in her eyes. "This is beautiful, Lily," Maya said softly, looking up at the girl. "You're brave for writing this, and even braver for sharing it with me." Lily sniffled, managing a small smile. "Your mural made me feel like I could be myself again. Like maybe being different isn't such a bad thing." In that moment, Maya understood the true weight of what she had started. It wasn't just about standing up to bullies or making amends. It was about giving others permission to embrace their uniqueness, no matter how hard the world tried to push them down. That night, she added Lily's poem to the club's growing collection of stories and artwork, vowing to keep amplifying voices that might otherwise go unheard. As months turned into years, the legacy of Maya's courage continued to grow. By high school, Shades of Strength had become a district-wide program with chapters in nearly every school. Older members mentored younger ones, passing on lessons of resilience and kindness. The annual Unity Festival, which Maya helped organize, became a beloved tradition, drawing crowds from across the region. Performances, art exhibits, and workshops celebrated diversity and fostered connections among students who might never have interacted otherwise. Brittany, too, underwent a transformation that surprised everyone, including herself. After apologizing to Maya, she slowly distanced herself from her old clique, seeking friendships based on mutual respect rather than fear. Though some doubted her sincerity at first, Brittany proved herself through consistent actions. She joined the anti-bullying club, using her influence to encourage others to treat classmates with compassion. By graduation, she and Maya weren't close friends, but they had developed a quiet understanding, rooted in growth and accountability. Graduation day arrived sooner than Maya expected. As she stood on stage delivering the valedictorian speech, she reflected on how far she'd come since that fateful afternoon in the hallway. Gone was the girl who cowered under insults, replaced by someone confident, compassionate, and determined to make a difference. In her speech, she reminded her classmates that life would test them, but it would also provide opportunities to rise above adversity and inspire others along the way. "Don't let anyone dim your light," she told the audience, echoing her mother's words from years ago. "Because when you shine brightly, you give others permission to do the same." After high school, Maya pursued a degree in fine arts, channeling her passion for storytelling into larger projects. Her paintings and poems traveled to galleries and exhibitions around the country, each piece carrying a message of hope and resilience. One of her most famous works, a massive canvas depicting a phoenix rising from flames, became a symbol of empowerment for marginalized communities. When asked about its meaning in interviews, Maya always credited her middle school experience as the catalyst for her success. Years later, Maya returned to Maple Room Middle School as a guest speaker. Walking through the familiar hallways brought back memories, the laughter of bullies, the sting of tears, the triumph of performing on stage. But now, those memories felt like stepping stones, rather than scars. Standing before a new generation of students, she shared her story once again, reminding them that their differences were their superpowers. Before leaving, she visited the cafeteria to see the mural she and her peers had created all those years ago. Time had faded some of the colors, but the message remained clear. Strength grows when we stand together. Beneath it, newer students had added their own contributions, handprints painted in vibrant hues forming a tapestry of unity across generations. As Maya traced her fingers over the paint, she smiled. This was her legacy, not fame or fortune, but the knowledge that she had planted seeds of kindness and courage in countless hearts. And though challenges would always exist in the world, she believed deeply that love, empathy, and art could conquer them all. Her journey taught her something invaluable, that pain, when shared and transformed, could become a beacon of light for others. Maya Johnson may have started as a target, but she ended as a trailblazer, a living testament to the idea that even the darkest moments can lead to the brightest futures.